Welcome to another episode of Investment Acorns, our exclusive series featuring insights from WhiteOak Capital Asset Management Limited. Joining me is Aashish Somaiyaa. He's CEO at WhiteOak Capital AMC. Welcome, Aashish.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Your column, The Power of Visualization in Mutual Fund Insight, April 2025 issue, you compare markets to a pendulum swinging between extremes. So how can investors use this visualization to make more informed and balanced investment decisions?
See, I think, when you describe a pendulum, most people are likely to think of, the left extreme and the right extreme.
Mm-hmm.
The first learning is not to think so much about the left extreme or the right extreme. The first learning is that if the clock is working, in the metaphor, we are talking that if the economy and the markets are functioning and working, right? Even in COVID period, when all of us were sitting at home, the economy and the markets were working. So for a clock which is working, the pendulum is in a state of perpetual motion, right? It keeps swinging. So when you see a pendulum and a metaphor of pendulum for the markets, the first thing is not to focus on the left extreme or the right extreme. The first thing is to understand the motion in totality. First of all, it's perpetual motion. It never stops. Second thing is that when you watch it going to the left, right? Don't think of the extreme, but when you watch it going towards the left, you know that at some point in time it will stop, and ultimately you are expecting it to swing to the right. But when you are expecting, when it is swinging to the left and you're expecting that it will swing to the right, more often than not, it will just go ever so little bit more towards the left than what you expect, right? Sometimes you feel that, okay, this is the end of the trajectory and now it will swing to the right. But when you have reached that point in your thought process, you will still find it ever so often going a little bit further to the left, right? So the second thing you need to understand is that the further it goes to the left, that much further it is going to swing towards the right when it reverses its trajectory, correct? So jitna left mein swing hoga, utna hi it will swing to the right also. When it hits the right extreme, again you will repeat the same behavior because you think that, okay, from here it is going to swing to the left, but it ever so often it swings a bit further on the right, correct? And the third thing to remember is that however extreme it swings, ultimately it will come back towards the center. But it will never stop at the center.
Yeah.
While it is mean reverting, meaning it always comes back towards the center, but it never stops at the center. Correct? So I think all of these things apply to the stock market. It is perpetually adjusting to ground realities. There is, the center is like a notion of fair value, but there's nothing called fair value. The market is consistently getting overvalued and undervalued. It is consistently yo-yoing between, leads and lags, correct? So I think a pendulum is a perfect metaphor. And, if you speak about cyclicality, the best way to visualize cyclicality is to visualize how a pendulum swings.
Another metaphor that you've used is car wiper-like behavior. So how investors often rush to buy gold when equities fall and vice versa. So why do you think this pattern is so common, and how can investors avoid falling into this cycle?
See, there also, I think, what happens is that if you see, where did this notion come from? Say, for example, a couple of years back, we were launching an asset allocation product. Multi-asset funds are a category.
Yeah.
So what we felt, most multi-asset funds in the industry, they are aiming for equity taxation. So they have 65 to 70% equity, and then they arbitrage it down. But the construct leaves only 10% for gold. So when I was creating a fund for our fund house, what we felt is that a genuine multi-asset fund should have a fair balance of equity gold, right? And there should be enough gold such that it can temper the volatility of equity on the way down, right? And that correlation should actually work. So we created a product which had, say, at the high point, it had some 25% in gold. Now, 2 years back, when we decided to hold 25% gold, what is the most common thing which we were told? Forever gold is $1,800 an ounce, and equity is the asset which is doing so well. I mean, who wants to put money in a fund which unnecessarily holds 25% gold, right? See, back then, gold had a run of pretty much no performance for a few years. I think even pre-COVID, it was $1,800 to an ounce, and then even a couple of years back, it was in the similar range. If you see in Indian terms, 55, 60,000 rupees per 10 gram, right?
Mm.
So it remained there for a long time. So when we wanted to do the asset allocation, the general refrain was that equity is the place to be in. I don't want to put money if you're going to put 25% in gold. Now, when it was time to start allocating to gold, everybody was convinced and gung-ho about equity. Today, when equity has given us a kind of a shock and gold has gone up, 91,000 rupees to those 10 grams, or say 3,000 plus dollars to an ounce, then everybody is thinking we should buy gold.
Mm.
So that's why I came up with an analogy of a wiper, because if you see in the rains when you're driving your car, the wiper has again a cyclical motion, right? So when the water falls here, it wipes here, but by the time it wipes this side of the screen, the water is going to fall on the other side of the screen, and then it's chasing this side. So I've seen that, investors, they also chase the asset class which is currently in vogue. But if you are going to put money in the asset class which is currently in vogue, then some other asset is going to start performing, no, boss? And then you chase this, then some other asset. So the idea is to have a diversified portfolio with the allocation to asset classes being rebalanced periodically, right? The choice is not to keep chasing different asset classes. You will always be late.
Yeah.
The better choice is, and who keeps chasing all these asset classes? People who want to maximize the return. If equity is doing well, I want to be fully in equity. That's a notion of maximizing. Now that gold is going up, I want to shift to gold. So you're again trying to maximize. Asset allocation cannot be done by people whose tendency is to maximize things. Asset allocation will always be performed well by people whose tendency is to optimize, right? Getting optimal return with lowest possible volatility is a process of optimizing. People
Mm.
who try to maximize their return will have to tolerate high volatility, and they'll have to tolerate downside once in a while.
Right now, many investors, they panic when markets drop, and they often exit too soon. Like when the market starts to recover, a lot of them run away. So how can they resist the surge, stay committed to their long-term investment goals?
See, I think, the answers are not anywhere in the mathematics or any of those. I think the answers are in the psychology, which is that, people need to understand that every once in a while, while in the longer term, see, India's economy and markets were liberalized, I think in 1992, financial year 92. After that, we have had 32 or 33 completed financial years. In 33 financial years, on average, the Sensex has compounded 12% plus dividend yield. So say give or take 13, 14%, the Sensex has compounded, right? In a good patch of, if you take a good patch of 5 years, then in those 5 years, Sensex might have compounded doubled within 3 years itself. And in another patch, it might happen that 5 years is not enough. The Sensex takes 7 years to double.
Hmm.
So if I say on an average, it has doubled every 5 years. In good times, it doubles in 3 years. In bad times, it doubles in 7, 8 years, right? But on average, it has doubled in every 5 years. So that is how our economy, our corporate profits, and the Sensex has actually performed. But what happens is that every time when the market doesn't do much, people lose patience. And every time when the market does a lot in a short time frame, people start extrapolating, thinking this is how it's supposed to be. So I think that understanding that this is all about psychology and managing your expectations and managing your emotions. When the market rewards you more than what you thought, don't think it is your skill.
Hmm.
And the market rewards you less than what you thought, then don't think that the market is fundamentally broken and you are in the wrong place. As they say, justice can be delayed, it cannot be denied. And that is how the markets have worked.
So is there a simple way for investors to maintain a rational mindset during volatile market conditions?
See, I think if they understand that, to remain invested consistently, you have to be open-minded, you have to be well asset allocated, you should not be swinging for the extremes. Like, if you're somebody who cannot control your emotion, if you're somebody who's prone to panicking, then you should not be 100% in equity,
Hmm.
right? And if you are somebody who thinks that, okay, if gold works well, then I want to swing to gold, and if equity does well, I want to swing to equity. If you get these thoughts, when you are in a cinema, when you're in a cinema line, standing in a line or a queue to buy tickets, and you lose patience if the queue next to you starts moving faster, then there is something to think about, right? So I think it's just that investors and advisors, I mean, advisors need to understand investors better, and investors need to understand their own personality much better. I think then they will do very, very well. And you invest not just to maximize returns, invest as per what suits your personality and your own psychology. I think that is the best way to go about.
And what are some practical ways that investors can develop a contrarian mindset in investing and avoid following the herd?
Yeah, see, I think just to be conscious, like I said, somewhere that, when people say be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy, you need to understand that the keywords are not greed and fear. The keyword in that statement is others,
Hmm.
correct? So if you just keep sense of what others are saying, and what is others, you get a good sense of the others if you follow social media, if you follow newspapers, if you follow television,
Hmm.
right? Then you will get a good sense of others. What the public at large is thinking.
Hmm.
Can you ensure? And see, good investors, they themselves will be able to observe how their own thought process is changing. There was once a time in 2013, my boss back then, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal,
Mhm.
in 2013, at one point in time, see, 2013, just to jog back for people who haven't been there, I mean, who were not there in the market. In 2008, at the peak of the market, Ruchira,
Mhm.
Nifty was 6,200 in
Mhm.
2008 peak. Okay. In 2013, in August and September, Nifty was 5,200. So imagine 5.5 years after the previous peak, the
Yeah.
Nifty was 1,000 points below its all-time high. So 2009, 10, 11, 12, and 13 were actually phases, India against corruption, that whole movement,
Yeah.
G scam, coal scam, so many things happened. And India was classified as fragile five, etc. So just trying to explain that was a very bad phase for the stock market.
Hmm.
The rupee was 69. Just imagine, right now we are complaining at 85, 86. A
Yeah.
whole 12 years back, the rupee was already at 69. Correct?
Hmm. Right.
So in that period, my boss back then, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal, once he told me in 2013, he said that, Ashish, I think that the market is close to bottoming out.
Mhm.
So I said, why do you say so? He said, I've been around 30 years and I'm finding a phase where everybody is nervous and people are making me also nervous after all my years of experience. So see, that's an example that investors should be able to observe their own thoughts and their own emotions,
Yeah.
right? It's a second order thinking. So here is an example of an astute investor who realizes that when he himself starts questioning the very fundamentals, it means that the pendulum has gone too far,
Hmm.
right? So I think to be a contrarian, you need to have, a lot of, you need to be evolved as a thinker.
Hmm.
But that takes time. But normally for all of us, if you just observe what people at large seem to be saying, and if you observe where the consensus is, like in the last couple of years, the consensus was PSU, railway, infrastructure, defense. Government has changed, PSUs have changed, the world has changed. This time is different, right? When people make such statements, when people are dead sure about things,
Hmm.
right? Ruchira, who can be dead sure? Only dead people can be dead sure. Right. So for investors, you can never be dead sure of anything.
Hmm.
So when people are very sure of things, then you know that the pendulum has gone to an extreme.
Yeah.
Because in the markets, you can never be, there can only be probabilities. There can be no surety.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
So I
Right.
think it's all psychology related.
Okay, so don't look at maximizing returns or swing to extremes. Remember that market is consistently moving. Keep your portfolios diversified, and with periodic rebalancing, you'll do fine. Well, thank you, Ashish, for sharing your insights and diving deep into your columns with us. We look forward to having you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.